in critical American priorities to build a strong national economy. Some of the ways that they do this is that they stimulate technological innovation, meet federal research and development needs, increase private sector commercialization of innovations derived from federal research and development funding. And what that means basically is that if a company is in the SBIR program and you develop a product or service through the program, you can sell it back to the military, any agency that participates in the SBIR program, but you can also sell it in the private sector. So you're not limited to just the government. All right, so the Department of the Navy SBIR programs provide opportunities for domestic small businesses and startups to deliver solutions to meet naval needs through federal research and development dollars. These competitive three-phase awards-based programs advance innovations with an aim toward transitioning the resulting technologies to the force fleet and commercialization in private markets. Now, under the Department of Defense, which is a participating agency, that's where the Department of Navy falls with the SBIR program. Here are the SysComs that also participate in the SBIR program underneath the Department of the Navy. So you have the Office of Naval Research, ONR, you have NAVWAR, Naval Air Systems Command, NAVSEA, the Naval Sea Systems Command, Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, the Marine Corps Systems Command, the Naval Supply Command, and the Naval Facilities Engineering and Expeditionary Warfare, NAVFAC, and finally Strategic Systems Program, SSP. Now this is important because if you're going to develop a technology, you want to know who that end user is. Now, as I stated before, this is a three-phase program. Phase one is the idea generation. This is where they establish the technical merit, the feasibility of the idea, of the technical idea, and commercial potential of the proposed research and development efforts to determine the quality of the performance of the small business awardee organization. And what that means is, in this stage, the government is going to see if you have the capability, if you have the personnel, the technical know-how, maybe the facilities to actually get a product if you go through the program to commercialization. Because the phase three, the commercialization, is the ultimate goal of the whole program. That's why we're here. In the phase one, there's $140,000 available in the base, which is a 6-month base period. And then there's also $100,000 available in the option, which is another 6-month period. So you have a 12-month period of performance in the phase one. In the phase two, this is the prototype development stage. This is where you're going to actually bring these ideas in the phase one into an actual product and get this ready for commercialization. So this is the phase two prototype development stage, and this is to continue the research and development efforts initiated in the phase one based on the results achieved and the merit and commercial potential of the project. Typically, only phase one awardees are eligible for phase two awards. But that's not always the case. Sometimes they do have where there's a direct to phase two in certain situations. Yeah, you have a question?
Backing up to kind of meriting, putting these two slides together, maybe you'll get to it, but like
okay.
With the Department of the Navy on the slide and the different
SysComs
systems commands, do they each administer their own SBIR awards? Like per
yes.
com?
That's a great question. Yes, they do, and they, there might be small nuances on how they do that, but yes, they all have their own budget for the SBIR program. Very good question. Thank you. So, and I say, there are some direct to phase two awards. Today is actually the closing of what we call the Catapult Challenge, which was a direct to phase two cycle. And so in the phase two, there's up to $2 million available for a small business to develop the prototype. You have an 18 to 24 month period of performance in the phase two. I do want to emphasize also, if you develop a prototype, excuse me, a phase two in the Department of the Navy SBIR program, that doesn't preclude you from also participating in other agencies' SBIR programs. The Army might like what you developed in the phase 2 at the Department of the Navy, and they might also be interested in it. So you're not just, confined to the Department of the Navy, even though that's where the SBIR originated. And so the ultimate goal, as I stated before, is the phase 3. This is the commercialization. And I believe that the Navy does a really great job with the phase 3 and the SBIR overall, because when they come out with a topic, a need that they're looking to fill, they have an end user in mind. Also, the Department of Navy, and you'll see this in a later slide, they offer great support programs for small businesses that get into the SBIR program. So with the phase 3, it's the commercialization phase, and this is to pursue commercialization objectives resulting from the phase 1 and 2 research and development activities. Now, in the phase 3, the SBIR program does not fund the phase 3. That is where you would find that end buyer, either in the private sector or within the government, to purchase that product that was developed through the phase 1 and the phase 2 SBIR. I want to emphasize that the phase 3 is not funded through the SBIR dollars. That's where you would go out and sell that product to the government or in the private sector, and that's where the phase 3 funding comes into play. Also, I also want to point out that with the SBIR program, you're not giving up data rights and you're not giving up intellectual property. The company owns the property and intellectual property and the data rights. So you're not selling that to the government. Government doesn't want to own that. So this is pretty much the life cycle of the SBIR program. I'm going to step over here for a second. So the Navy Research Enterprise will identify needs. These are gaps that the Navy is looking to develop with the use of small businesses. And so once the technical gap is identified, they're looking to small businesses to help them develop these technologies. So in a calendar year, this is fiscal year 21, so it's a few years dated, but you'll get the general idea of the cycle. In a calendar year or in a fiscal year, you'll come out, the Department of Navy will come out with 171 topics on average. This is an average. These are solicitations, these are needs that the Navy is looking to fill. Out of the 171 topics, the small businesses on average will submit proposals, 2,852 in fiscal year 21, to identify how they would go about developing the technology to fill those gaps. So this is startups and small businesses. When I say small businesses, it's a company that's under 500 employees. From the 2,852 proposals in the fiscal year 21, those were down selected to 585 phase 1 awards. So with the 585 awards, they're in now the phase 1. This is the feasibility study. This is where the Department of Navy is going to, review the submission to see if you have the personnel. Do you have the technical knowledge to be able to develop that prototype? Those are some of the things they're looking for. And so from the 585 awards, now they're down selected to 270 awards, almost half of what the phase 1 awards were originally. And so then from that, you have the phase 2, and this is, like I said before, this is where you're going to build that prototype, do the experimentation to see if the product can actually be commercialized. And so from the 271 awards in the phase 2, and like I say again, this is just fiscal year 21, the numbers have gone up since then. The commercialization to phase 3, the SBIR program sold $921 million worth of products and services generated or originated from the SBIR program, the Department of Navy SBIR program. Now, as I stated before, the Department of Navy and their SBIR program, I believe, is really good at the SBIR program because they have great support programs once you get into the program. The Navy STP, which is the transition program, is an 11-month program for phase 2 awardees to partner with business consultants and market researchers who assists with the transitioning technologies through business mentoring, education, and network. So the Navy STP, once you win the Phase 2 award, will invite you to join this free program, 11th month program, and this helps with business mentoring, education, network. And why that is important, as you know, if you're a startup or a small business, it's very expensive to hire consultants to help you with this. And so this, and one of the great things a Navy STP also does is they'll invite you to various Navy events like Navy Gold Coast out in San Diego, where you could have a booth set up with your prototype that you're ready to sell, and they'll invite you out there. That way you get your product in front of the buyers. The Department of the Navy SBIR Sitter Experimentation Cell, DONSEC, connects SBIR innovators with experimentation community to test innovative solutions. Now this is very important as well because, as you know, as a small business or startup, to do experimentation is very costly. To get to a research lab or anywhere where you can do experimentation is very costly. So the Department of the Navy will help you with that as well if you're a small business and you're in the Phase 2. And then finally, the Navy Launch is a 10-month program to educate and accelerate scale beyond traditional defense markets. This is where the Navy is going to help you grow your business once you're in that Phase 2. So these, I believe, are really important for helping the Department of Navy SBIR awardees get to that next level, commercialization. Now, this goes back to the Navy STP program, and on average, you'll see here that companies that participate, because you don't have to, you can turn it down when they invite you to the STP program, but companies that typically do participate in the program have a 17% average increase in commercialization, which I think is a huge number. And you can see here, I'm not going to go over all the numbers, but the main number you want to get out of here is a 17% increase for commercialization. This is a how to participate page here. And I put handouts here on the table, so a lot of this information are in the handouts. So you have to determine your eligibility, and that's also in the handout there. You want to go to, this is the catapult challenge that just ended, but you would go on, and I'll show you this after the slides, how to go on the website and look for some of this information. We just finished the catapult challenge, ends today, but you would go and research the topics. And what you do is, you know what your company's capability is. So you go and research the topics. You want to see if, hey, we have the infrastructure, we have the personnel to actually develop these topics that the Department of Navy is looking to develop. And that goes back to the broad agency announcement. Those are the solicitations, the topics that the Department of the Navy is looking to develop with the aid of small businesses. Oh, on the last part there also it says submit proposal. I do want to point out a few things about the proposal, and I'll show you where you can find the template on the navysbir.com website. But I can't emphasize enough to follow the directions when you do the proposal. It's for the Department of Navy, it's a 10-page proposal. If you do 11-page, even if you have a game-changing technology, they're not going to review it because you didn't follow directions. So it's like we're back in school. You got to follow directions. You got to do the right font size, do the right margins. My recommendation is just use the template that they've already posted up on the website. Here is some basic contact information. And if you want to reach out to any of these people here, I can do an introduction on your behalf if you would like. Up here we have NavWar's SBIR Sitter Program Office Program Manager, Shadi Azum. He's out in San Diego. He's closely aligned with the NIWC Pacific Command. We have who I directly support, Eric Gardner. He's the Palmetto Tech Bridge Director, and he's aligned with NIWC LANT out of Charleston. Then we also have the NIWC Office of Small Business Programs, John O'Connor. He loves working with small businesses. I can't say enough about him. He's always responsive to emails, but I can also do an introduction on your behalf if you'd like to speak with the Office of Small Business Programs at NIWC Atlantic. And then here we have the basic, the general, I should say, not basic, NIWC Atlantic webpage, and that's their address there, email address there. So before I show you the website and how to find some of the information, do we have any questions that I can answer?
Yes, I do have a question.
All right, Angela.
Now, I've been multitasking, as you have seen.
Okay.
So, if you've addressed anything, please forgive me. But I do think these are some important questions. So, my first question is, with the program, are independent founders required to build their own team, their own startup team?
Yes.
Or does the
Short
program
answer.
help connect them with people who can help with the startup and then get it up and running?
Okay, so great question. I kind of covered this with the business mentoring and the STP program. So they can help you with the business marketing and help you on that end. But the small business will have to find their own personnel, their own subject matter experts. They can't help you build your company up,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally
Okay.
makes sense. And then
It would be an unfair advantage if the Department of Navy helped one business, establish themselves,
Oh, I see.
because it's a competitive program. Well, at least the phase 1 and the phase 2, it's a competitive program. So you're competing with other companies that are trying to win these awards.
Right.
But when you get to the phase 3, because you've already gone through the phase 1 and phase 2 competitive aspect of the program, the phase 3 is not competitive. If you do get the phase 3, it's a sole source because you've already gone through the competitive aspect of the program. But the Department of the Navy and the government in general, they have to make sure that they're not favoring one company over another or giving a company an advantage over another. So they can only help you to a certain extent.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure there's a network where they can, I don't know, you can connect with
there's a lot of support organizations that I can help any company out with, like right off the bat, like South Carolina Apex Accelerators. The Apex Accelerators are throughout the country. I highly recommend small businesses, and I can connect any small business here with the South Carolina one, but they help companies with some of those questions that you were just asking.
Okay.
So it's really important to find out whatever state you're in, what organizations are there to support small business, and there's a lot of them.
Yes.
So
Okay, that's the right answer.
okay.
And then my other question is, would you be able to provide 2 or 3 examples of products that have been developed with this program and share some of their success?
I tell you,
Get an idea of
yeah, that's a great
what comes
question
out of
too.
this?
So that's a great question. If you go on the STP, and I'll show you how to get there, the Navy STP site, they have what they call success stories. So they come out with a write-up of companies that have gone through the SBIR program successfully. So that's, I think, your best resource right there is the STP success stories. When I pull up the website, I'll try to pull one of those up for you. But and I'm trying to think of a company off the top of my head, but some of the largest companies in the country have gone through the SBIR program, and that's how they got their start. Qualcomm, are you familiar with Qualcomm?
No.
If I'm saying that correctly, yeah, they got their start through the SBIR program.
Okay. Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yep. Any further questions? No? Yep.
The TABA funds, like the technical assistance, does the Navy have that as part of their SBIR and SITR programs?
They do, and
companies can ask for.
Yeah, that's a great question, and they do. And if you go that route, if you want the TABA funds, then you can't do the STP program. So you have to do one or the other.
You can pick which one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up.
Can you talk about the upcoming pre-release date? It looks like we're coming up on it of December 4th, 2024. Is that for a new submission for anyone who's interested in getting started?
Yeah, that's a great question. So and this is going to be huge for NAVC. So it's actually 25.1, I think, is coming up. So that might be a little dated if it doesn't say 25.1.
25.1.
It does. Okay, great. So the 25.1 is the topics that NAVC, the Naval Sea Systems Command, that's when they release a majority of their topics. So that's coming up. And so you'll see whenever you see a topic release cycle, there's going to be what's called a pre-release. And the pre-release is about a month long. And what the pre-release is before you submit a proposal, you can ask questions to the technical points of contacts, the TPOCs, to get more information before you submit your proposal, write your proposal. And the pre-release is important because that conversation is going to be just between you and the TPOC. Your competitors will not be able to see what questions you asked or what answers were given. And because that way you don't give away any of your trade secrets, right? You don't want to give away any information to your competitors. Now, once the pre-release period's over, then you have what's called the open. Now, you can still ask questions to the TPOCs, but your competitors will be able to see that conversation. So in a normal cycle of a topic, it'll be about 3 months. You'll have the pre-release period, which is a month, and the open period. Actually, I think the open period is about 2 months, though, before you have to submit your proposal. And I would highly recommend don't waiting to the last day to submit the proposal, because if there's a technical glitch with the website or on your, or if you're having computer programs, you don't want to waste the last minute. Try to get that proposal in a couple of days before the deadline. Does that answer that? All right, great.
And then is this topic listed on the flyer, delivering innovation to the warfighter? I guess that's the general.
That's the general.
Topic, but the pre-release will go to depth about the 271.
Well, and that was fiscal year 21. I'll show you on the website where you can find the topics.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. All right, so this is my favorite website. I think this really is your best first stop if you want to submit a proposal for the Navy SBIR program. So the first place I'm going to go here is the BAAs, which is Broad Agency Announcements.
What is this website name?
This is navysbir.com, and it's on the handouts that I left on the tables. Okay, great. So the broad agency announcement, these are solicitations. If you can see, it shows that they have the DoD SBIRs, but then they also have a current Department of the Navy. I'll just click on that. And this is the schedule of the broad agency announcements, when they're going to release the topics. So you'll see the pre-release is coming up for the 25.1 and the 25.A. And what that, I also want to explain what that is. The 25.1, whenever you see the number, the 0.1 after the 25, which is the fiscal year, that refers to SBIR. The letter A refers to the STTR. Does that make sense? So you have 25 for fiscal year 25, right? This is going to be the first cycle of the fiscal year. So you have number 1, since it's the first cycle, and that's the SBIR, and A is the first cycle of the STTR. Sorry if that's confusing. So you see, and then you see the pre-release periods opens December 4th, and that's open till January 8th, and then the whole cycle closes. You have to get your proposal in by the 25th of February, or I'm sorry, the 5th of February. Now, if we go over here, here you have the forms and templates. And each one will show you a template for what you need to submit. So you'd have your cover sheet, what they call the volume 2. The technical proposal, I'm sorry, volume 1. The technical proposal is the volume 2. The cost proposal. All of these, if you go through it, it'll have a template for everything they're looking for and how to submit the proposal.
Now, the direct to phase 2, is that something you can propose that you see the topic, or do they indicate that they are interested in the direct to phase 2 proposal?
Right. They'll let you know what they're interested in. They will not let you propose directly. Now, you actually bring up a good point that I wanted to make. This was mandated by Congress when the program got reauthorized. Now the Department of the Navy has to do an open topic, and we do that in the summer. I think we've done 2 so far. So the open topic, it's not open where you can just submit anything, but it does broaden the scope of what you can submit. And so look out for that in the summertime. That just allows more companies to play in the civil world. like I said, this can all be found at the
Now, I assume like just kind of the mechanics of getting in. Like, imagine like you're gonna already have to be in like sam.gov as a company, and you're gonna have to do all that admin work to be able to submit your proposal. It's not, you can't propose without a.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. And on that one flyer, you'll see where I think it says to start or eligibility or,
Determine eligibility.
yeah, it's a step-by-step each website you'd have to go to. So SAM is definitely one of the ones that you would have to register with.
Okay.
And SAM, for anyone that doesn't know, that's the Systems of Award Management website. And so I'm going to go here with the resources.
Which is not impossible to navigate, but is not the most straightforward thing.
I've heard that feedback, and
And there's some specific requirements on like having actual physical addresses and things.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, I saw this proposed. I'm going to go to hit Sam today.
Right.
And submit the proposal tomorrow, and we'll be off to the races. It's a
Yeah,
little
couple
more.
months.
yeah,
Not many months. Like some people, it'll sail right through, but occasionally you get into hiccups of there's a lot of traps for the unwary, and like just the way the system works, because it's designed to take what used to be a very manual process and make it all in one place.
Mhm.
It checks you against GSA information and against your business licenses and things like that to make sure you're actually a company that's domiciled in the United States.
Right.
And meets all these requirements.
and that's huge. You have to be domiciled in the United States. But like with the addresses, they want to make sure you're not using a shed,
Yep.
right, as your place of business.
Well, you can even run into sometimes if you have telework space that isn't dedicated to you. There's a lot of like rules that a startup may not know off the top when they go in to do it. So just give yourself a few weeks. If it only takes you a day to register, that's great. If not, at least you'll work to ahead of time having
Right.
that set before you can submit this.
Right. No, that's very good advice. And, this will set you up for contracting, in the future.
Yeah, for any contract.
Any contract, whether it's SBIR or, a different contract with the government. Here, so this is a list. You were asking me about success stories. So if you go to resources, I think it's the middle tab on the navysibir.com. It'll have a list of success stories of companies that have gone through the whole program. And you would just click on the company, and I can do that. So yeah, under resources, it'll say Navy SBIR Sitter Success and Spotlight Stories. So if you just I click on the first one there, and that's a write-up for a success story, which companies love. This is great promotion for the company, right? So you'll see there if you can see in the top corner there, the topic number, that was the solicitation that the company won the award for. And then it shows in the middle the SBIR investment. And then right there, you'll see the phase 3 funding. I mean, we're talking some big dollars there. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
let me get out of this real quick. So I just wanted to kind of go over the website, and there it is again if you want to take a picture of it. And to the left, you'll see some quick links there. So it has like DonSec, like I mentioned before, the fraud, waste, and abuse. That's something the companies will have to complete the fraud, waste, and abuse. Naval X, you'll see Naval X there. So the Naval X and I support the Palmetto Tech Bridge through Naval X, which is connected to NIWC LANT. But the tech bridges were propped up a few years ago as a way to eliminate barriers for small businesses to work with the Department of Navy. So they're geographically aligned with warfare centers all over the country. Actually, there's one in London and Japan as well. So another site that I wanted to show you, this is a Navy SBIR search site. And I really love this one because if you wanted to do some research on your technology to see, hey, have they ever come out with a topic related to my technology? If so, did any companies win awards for those technologies? And larger companies also use this as a tool. If they're looking for small businesses to partner with, they can put in the keyword, a couple keywords, find that technology, see if any businesses have actually won awards, and there's contact information so you can reach out to the company. but I'll give you an example. Like if we do, maybe cyber. So I just put in cyber under the keyword, and you can see that all these topics came up. So the first one that came up is signaling queuing in a complex environment. So if I click on that, and there you go, that's the topic right there. And so this is information about the company, where they're located, the year they were founded, how many employees they have, the number of phase 1 awards, no phase 2 awards, government POC, and this is the contract number, the topic number, solicitation. So that was fiscal year 24.2. And the program was a Navy SBIR program, it was a Navy award. And then it just gives an abstract of the technology, the topic. Yes, sir.
We explained the principal investigator and why that's important.
Okay, well, right off the bat, the principal investigator has to be a United States citizen. So that's very important. I'm glad you brought that up. And for each company, the principal investigator, I think, could wear many hats and be a different roles within the company. But the most important thing with the principal investigator is they have to be a U.S. citizen.
So it's just someone within the startup or business?
Yeah, they have.
It'll lead the project.
They have to
so
lead.
think of it like that's the research or the point of contact for the actual work being done, as opposed to the corporate official, which is who you contact for like company matters. Sometimes they can be the same person, and then the government point of contact is usually whoever's like, here it might be whoever's at like ONR or something that is in charge of making sure that program. They're not. They might be the contracting officer's representative. They might be the contracting officer. It might just be a data scientist that's working there. But it tells you right off the top who's who in working on this award.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like you can see the people who got the award is up in the corner with the firms, so like Expedition Technology.
Right,
down
out
the
of.
street from where I used to work in
Oh,
wrestling.
really? Yep, in Virginia.
And,
Yep.
And then you can see their classifications for like different like.
The NICS codes right here, right? That classifies what kind of work they do or what kind of business they are.
You can use it in another way. I mean, this is for awards, but you could also potentially prospect, right, for other people. If you have a technology that's similar that somebody might have worked in, right, you're looking to find out what they did or what they're working on. Like this it's designed to give you enough information too that you potentially reach out and say, hey, I'm doing this. I see this is what a 2013 award. So 11 years ago, Mark Wallace, you helped with this. I see how LinkedIn
Right.
not there anymore. Like we're doing something similar. Are you willing to talk or call the government if Deborah is still there? You'd be amazed how many people pick up the phone or answer the email.
Right. I look at this as a partnering tool. It can be a partnering tool for you. And so this company has 97 employees. So if you call up startup, you might have 1 or 2 people that's doing everything, the marketing, the research. Yeah. So it just kind of depends on the company. Okay, great. So I just wanted to show you this website as well, because I like this website a lot. And this is also on the handout that I presented. Do I have any questions regarding the websites?
Is there anywhere specific to look at a scoring syllabus of how they weight specific sections of the proposal when they are figuring out who they're going to give the awards to?
No, there isn't anything like that, but you bring up a good point. If you submit a proposal and you don't win the award, you can request a review.
Okay.
Yeah.
A debrief.
A debrief, thank you. A debrief, yep. So you can get a debrief and that'll help you next time,
Yeah.
So it's a learning process, right? So that's a very good point.
Which is why it makes it important to submit in advance.
Right. Well, the debrief, it won't allow you enough time to resubmit for that cycle. But if you want to resubmit in the future, yeah.
For those who are online and don't have the physical handouts in front of them, can you talk a little bit about this page that's showing the different technology
Sure. And this
areas for different DoD?
Sure. And for everyone that's online, I'm going to show you, if you go back to the NavySBIR.com website, And if you scroll down to the right, there's some handouts, and there's so there's a Navy SBIR Sitter overview handout to the right next to the picture of Brian Shipley, who's the Department of Navy SBIR Sitter Director. You'll see the year in review, fiscal 23. There's a guidebook to help you with the commercialization stage. And then you'll see underneath the guidebook, there's a Navy Systems Commands SysComs. And so that's this flyer here. And so on the front of the flyer, you have all the program offices that under the SysComs that do the SBIR program with the program manager's name and their emails. So if you wanted to reach out to them directly. On the reverse of the flyer, we have what's the technology, they're called the technology areas. These are the focus areas that each SysCom is looking to develop. And so if you look at, so trusted AI, right, is huge right now. Every SysCom is looking for trusted AI except for SSP. So this gives you a good idea, and this, like I said, is on the website, but this gives you a good idea of what, like I said earlier, it's very important to know what SysCom the end user, is coming from, because that will kind of determine who what SBIRs you go after. And so this just gives you a general idea of the different focus areas.
So does that tell you could almost multiply your chances if across the board,
Yeah, you gotta
all of them go for one topic versus another?
Yeah, and not only with the Navy, right? With the AI, there's other agencies that are looking to develop AI. So you do increase your chances if you play in the AI world.
Nice.
Yep.
You also don't have to take it if you submit for it. There's no requirement that you accept the SBIR, so you can actually apply to different ones, get different amounts of money offered to you, different requirements on it. Like, for example, you might win an SBIR from the Navy, offered that, right, and a STTR from another organization, maybe even outside of DoD, and you can look at some of the requirements, right? If you don't want to partner with the research university, go the SBIR route. If you want to partner with the research university, and you can go the STTR. And so there's business decisions behind kind of what choices you have and what programs you apply to.
Correct. And also there's, depending on what state you live in, there's also matchmaking funds that are available. So that's why it's another important reason to get tied in with your local and state agencies, because there's also funds out there where organizations will match the funding that you get in the phase 1 and phase 2.
And I don't know about here, but it's for the STTR side, because you need that research university too. A lot of them have help in that grant writing approach, because they win when you win on getting it submitted, because you're going to end up you have to work with them through the STTR program, so the sitters, and so that's another like semi-free resource.
Right.
Yeah. And there's also a numbers game here, and Jeff brought up the AI part, but you will see sometimes that if you pick a topic like AI that a lot of people say they want, there may be 2,000 proposals.
That's a good point
and you
too.
pick something that's worded slightly different that your technology could fit into, and there'll be 10 proposals. So your odds of rolling the dice on that turn out to be a numbers game of you picking the right title so that you have fewer competitors.
Right. And that's a great point. And so I think the key word here is innovative, right? You have to kind of stand out from the rest of the crowd. What makes you innovative, and is your technology game changing? I always use game changing because that's a great way to get into the program.
You brought up match a second ago. Does SBIR or STTR require any type of match?
No, it's not required,
Okay.
but it does.
Helps.
It helps, right?
Absolutely.
As much money as you can get always helps, right?
Kind of the validation
Yeah,
side of things.
yeah. And so that's another, like with the South Carolina Apex Accelerator, getting connected with them, because they would know where to go to get those matching funds. And I have a good relationship with the director there, Ron Connor. So if anybody wants to get tied in with the Apex Accelerator, they're based out in Columbia. And I'll just close with this. So I'm co-organizing an event in Charleston. It's tied in with the CDCA. It's the Charleston Defense Contractors Association Eastern Defense Summit, which will take place in North Charleston on December 11th and 12th. The day before that, on the 10th, between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, this is a free event at the same location. It's the North Charleston Coliseum. We're going to have a live broadcast of the topic release for NAVC. So they'll have technology managers discussing some of the topics that they're coming out with. It's also an opportunity for you to speak with them directly. So if anybody is interested in attending that free event, my business card is on the desk. Just reach out to me and I can forward you the link for the registration.
Now you said a live broadcast. Will they be streaming it?
Yeah, they'll be streaming it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. They'll be streaming it. Yeah. So if you can make it, December 10th, free event, North Charleston.
For the attendees, we send out, we usually share the presentation, so I can put the link in there too.
Yes.
For the events that you're mentioning.
Yes.
Everyone can access
Yeah,
it.
that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And also with the CDCA, the Charleston Defense Contractors Association, their Eastern Defense Summit, the Palmetto Tech Bridge is hosting a prize challenge. So I can forward you information on that as well. I think there's 4 different prize challenges with up to $50,000 for the winner.
If anyone online would like a copy to the presentation, send us an email to info@BufortDigital.com and we'll make sure you get a copy.
Great. Okay. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.